Hi, how are you? This is Dr. Damaris Maria Grossman, and this is the Mindfully Integrative Show. And today we have an amazing mindful chat with Brandi Meilenberg. She is an integrative health coach, but she has many things that she's going to share with you. She's a gut health expert, autoimmune specialist, and she has an array of things to discuss with you, as well as she is getting her doctorate. So let's chat, and thanks so much for being on the show, Brandi.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here and talk with yourself and your guests.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time. And as it's integrative health and kind of just combining them in some way. And it's first, I always say, what's a little fun fact or something that people may not know about you?
Oh gosh. A fun fact about me is I am an avid animal lover, and honestly, the fact that I don't work with animals is shocking to a lot of people. But I actually I have 6 pets from various ranges. So I have a horse all the way down to a rabbit and various animals in between. So yeah, so love animals, and I would collect all of them if I had the space.
Oh, yeah, I definitely couldn't work with animals because I have like too much of an emotional, I feel
Yeah.
like you do, just like I love them. I just took a stray in during the pandemic. So, well,
Oh,
not in, but she's underneath my deck that I take
yeah.
her. So I understand. A horse too, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've been into horses as long as I can remember, so it's definitely something that people find interesting about me. So
No, that's beautiful. I actually, when I was because I was military, I did some military trauma training, and we did a lot
yeah,
of equine therapy. And I remember
yeah,
when I was going through like my own therapy, we did like some riding, and I was like, wow, this is beautiful. So yeah, it was
yeah,
really, really very helpful. I didn't realize how beautiful the horses were.
yeah. They're
Doing it
very,
in
very
a different way.
therapeutic for
Yeah,
sure.
it was so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so let's kind of get into your story and kind of where you came into the gut health. I mean, you're an integrative health coach, but I know that there's more to that story. I mean, people don't usually go into integrative health just unless it's been brought up in their family. So kind of let's discuss on that. Let's talk about where things are for you.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. And myself, like a lot of people who have ended up in integrative medicine, has kind of been led this way through my own health journey. So that's kind of
Right.
what where
That's
it
usually,
started.
yeah, that's I
Yeah.
love highlighting everybody's stories.
Right. And so for me, it was after the birth of my second child, I started having kind of all of these different symptoms. I was gaining weight that I like unexplained. I was having really bad digestive issues. All of these things were kind of piling on consistently. And I was like, this is weird. Like, what's what's going on? So I went
Right.
to my PCP and said, hey, these are the things that I'm noticing. This is what's happening.
Mhm.
And, we did lab work and all this stuff. And she said, you're totally normal. Everything's fine. You're just you're a new mom, you're working, you're busy, it'll
Mhm.
calm down. And I thought, okay, well, maybe that's what it is.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but it wasn't, as
Oh,
we all know.
of course not.
Yeah. So I ended up just kind of pressuring through because I was like, no, it's not going away. Your suggestions weren't working. So through all of that, I actually ended up seeing over 40 different specialists,
Oh
physicians,
my.
yeah, 40 different doctors in
What
various
how
ways.
expensive that must have been.
Right. Yeah. So from like my normal PCP to gastroenterologist to hormone specialist, like all the
Mhm.
specialists, I saw them.
Wow.
So various amounts of tests were done. Every single one of them came back and said I was normal, nothing was wrong with me. I was told I was getting older. I was told I was a woman. I'm a mom. All the things that we've kind of gotten accustomed to hearing.
I know I get so frustrated now that I've gone on the
Yeah,
functional medicine side. Oh,
it's so
it's so
frustrating.
hard. Yeah, it's hard to see. So hard.
Yeah. So honestly, after going through that and seeing all those doctors, and I myself had worked in the healthcare field for many years. And so I'd worked in critical care, worked in hospitals, worked with various different doctors.
Right. I saw that you're a respiratory therapist, so you have years of like, being around sick people.
Right. And so I thought I had a really good grasp of what health and wellness look like. How do you be healthy?
I totally get you.
Yeah, and through all of that, I was like, okay, there's something I'm missing. There's something I don't know
Right.
because this is not right. And so I kind of just dug in. I was like, you know what? I'm going to research everything that I can. I'm going to find every research paper, I'm going to look at every single one of my symptoms and try and figure this out. And what's interesting is through doing that, I actually found Hashimoto's. and
Yes.
celiac disease matched all of my symptoms.
But nobody
And
knew that initially. You know what I'm saying? Like now people are talking about it a little bit more, but probably when you were looking, there was nothing.
no, I had on like I knew what celiac was because I was actually diagnosed with a wheat allergy when I was 3 years old. So I had a good idea of what celiac was. I'd heard of it. Hashimoto's at that point I had never even heard of. Like I had no idea what it was.
Mhm.
So I really
We'll
started
talk
digging.
more about it, but if you, well, talk, tell people more about it too.
Absolutely. And, so I really was like, these two things are absolutely what's going on with me. I know it,
Mhm.
everything matches. I went to my doctor, kind of excited that I found answers, and she was like, no.
She said no.
Yeah, she's like, all of your
She just
thyroid,
probably wasn't educated in the field of it. Do you know what I mean?
right?
And that's so frustrating. It's like I wish it's almost like a normal conversation. And I feel bad because I'm a provider, and I know now, but I feel like when you just don't when you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, and it was absolutely that she didn't know, because looking back now, the thyroid lab panels and stuff that she was doing were not complete.
Oh, I bet
Um,
they weren't. She
so
didn't
there
do
was no
any
way.
APO or
Yeah, there was no way that
T3,
she would have.
T4, nothing, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh,
No
well,
antibodies, none of that stuff.
mhm.
And so I'm like, well, absolutely. That's why she thought like it was fine, because she wasn't checking fully because she didn't know to. So yeah, so I kind of self-diagnosed and I was like, okay, well, no one wants to listen to me about this. I'm just going to treat myself the best way that I can to try
Mhm.
and manage this on my own. So that's what I started doing. I started really looking at the lifestyle changes that would make effects with both Hashimoto's and celiac. I really started digging into autoimmune diseases as a whole, and what type of things would help with that. I started looking at my nutrition, all of these things. And so within a matter of a couple of months, my symptoms started really starting to disappear and I started feeling better. Unfortunately, though, because my thyroid was so bad at that point,
Right.
um, I still wasn't getting completely better because I didn't have the interventions that I needed. And when I
Right.
finally did find a physician that would run my TPO antibodies, they were like in the thousands.
Oh my gosh.
It was horrible. And so,
Oh, that's a lot.
yeah. And so it was like, well, no wonder you feel like crap. But yeah, so since then, I have, just to kind of make a really long story shorter, since then, I've definitely continued on with my journey of helping myself. My antibodies are now undetectable. I have zero on the lab value. I mean, they're undetectable. And I feel fantastic. My celiac is under control. Like everything has gone so well. My symptoms are gone. And what really contributed to that was I found a physician who really started working with me and said, have you ever thought about your gut? And I was like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Like, I'm just trying to survive over here.
I know.
And
Yeah, it's all in the gut, man. I talk about it. I
yeah.
love good health. I mean, I
And
talk about it a lot. And there's a lot.
he's like, well, I think it's important that we look at it because some of your markers are indicating that your gut may not be working correctly. And I was like fascinated, right? And so we started working on that. Of course, me being the researcher I am, I'm like, I need to know all the things. So I dug in and started learning as much as I could. And it was like a complete 180 when I really started working on my gut and fixing everything. That was the moment when everything really started to shift and change. And I started to feel like my normal self. I literally felt like I was 20 years old again. Like I was like,
Mm.
all this energy, where has this been? And so that led me to go to get my health coaching certification in integrative nutritional health coaching, because I really wanted to learn as much as I could and I wanted to help other people. And so then through that, I'm now working on my doctorate in integrative and functional nutrition as well. And so it just brought up this huge passion in me to, one, gut health is amazing. And I learned so much and know all the great things that it can do for people. But also, I don't want anyone to have to go through 40 doctors like I did and all of the years of symptom management and all that stuff, when I know that there's great ways to go through getting through that so much faster. And gut health is really definitely a key in that. And so that's kind of my story and what led me to what I do now.
I think that's amazing. Like, what was your so did you go through like kind of the overall? Okay, let's talk about what Hashimoto's is. So, can you explain to the listeners? I mean, I know what it is, but those that are listening may not know. So, let's talk about what Hashimoto's is, and
Yeah.
then let's talk about your gut health a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hashimoto's is one of the like most common autoimmune conditions now. I mean, all the women that I talk to, and it's more common in women that I have talked to
Yes.
in
Yeah.
probably the
I mean,
last
now
6
you'll hear it more, but I feel like the conversation didn't come out until just maybe more recently.
Yeah, it's definitely more recently. And now I've noticed in my practice working with clients that almost every woman that I meet and talk to, she's like, "Hey, I have Hashimoto's," and I'm like, "Well, of course you do." It's so common. But Hashimoto's is it's a thyroiditis, so it's an autoimmune thyroid condition. And so
Mm-hmm.
over time, what happens is your immune system is kind of attacking your thyroid, is the best way to explain it. And that over time causes hypothyroidism. So then your thyroid can't produce the hormones that it needs to, it's not functioning correctly. And so you have all of these kind of symptoms and issues that pertain to that. And one thing that I didn't mention earlier in my story, but what I is kind of one of those things I wish I knew then what I know now moments, is I ended up having my gallbladder removed and had a full hysterectomy when I was going through all of that. And all of those symptoms that I was having was completely related to my Hashimoto's. And so, had I known
Mm.
then what I know now, I could have probably prevented those surgeries. But it's definitely, it
You
really
had what
messed.
kind of surgery? Say that again.
I had my gallbladder removed.
Gallbladder. Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So gallbladder conversation between the gallbladder, the spleen, and virus. It's like more
yeah,
and more people get their gallbladder out. And I just say, I don't think that's the right decision. But
right. Yeah, and if I had known then what I know now, I would have never gone through with it. At that time, I was having such severe gastrointestinal issues and pain and bloating and so many things, and that was the only thing that they could point to, was it has to be your gallbladder. We know it's your gallbladder. And I was like, if it's going to make me feel better, I guess sure, that's what we have to do. But now I know it was actually related to my Hashimoto's, it was related to my gut being imbalanced. And had
Mhm.
I been able to first address those things, then I would have been able to save my gallbladder. And so that's something important to note too. And the other thing that I learned really about Hashimoto's is, we can easily go through the Google, rabbit hole of like, what is hypothyroidism or what is
Mhm.
Hashimoto's? But it really is something different to everyone. Like my symptoms with Hashimoto's may be completely different than your symptoms with Hashimoto's.
Mhm.
Not everybody experiences that the same exact way. And I think that's where it gets confusing too, is because when you're chasing down symptoms, they don't always look exactly the same. And so it
Mhm.
can be difficult to point them in the right direction.
No, I think it's so important because I think people they're always trying to find answers, right? They're always looking. What was kind of your obviously you went to go train more into this, but what was your major for you, what helped you the most?
Honestly, I think what helped me the most was nutrition, absolutely helped me
Mhm.
the most. Partially because, as I mentioned, I had celiac that was undiagnosed. So,
Did
I
you
had
have the non-sensitive celiac or did you have celiac?
yeah, I had celiac. I mean,
Mm.
I had mentioned earlier I was diagnosed with a wheat allergy at 3 years
Yeah.
old, which at that time was almost unheard of. I mean, I just happened to have
So
this
you
pastry.
had it and you still had probably wheat all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I ate it all the time because, as
But
a
and
teenager.
it's like you have the allergy, but people go, "Oh, it's okay."
Right, exactly. Yeah. And in the 90s and
Yeah.
as growing
Nobody
up, it was like,
nobody
well, whatever, that's what you ate. And as a teenager, you're like, whatever, I'm gonna eat what my friends are eating. And so you just ate what you ate. And it just kind of compounded. But I think removing gluten from my diet obviously made a huge impact for me.
Oh, I bet it did.
Yeah, it was huge. And honestly, just nutrition in general, switching from the standard American diet of eating out, going to fast
Mhm.
food, buying things in boxes. And I didn't feel like I ate that bad, honestly, before, but I didn't know then what I know now.
Right. You're
So when
actually
I
reading labels.
Yeah. So reading labels, really switching to a whole foods based diet, really paying attention to, eating foods that come from the earth, making sure if I'm eating meat that they're lean and they come from good sources, and really switching and doing all that was probably the biggest difference for me. Obviously, making sleep a priority was a huge thing. Managing stress as well were two big things also. But I think when I really started seeing changes was with my diet, because that also helped with my gut along the way too.
Yeah.
So those were kind of the things that really, really I started noticing right away that there were differences happening.
Yeah, I think that we think we're healthy,
Mhm.
and I can relate to you on that end. And when I had thought I was doing a good, I had learned some, right? And I said, oh, I'm totally healthy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good. When I realized I'm really only a quarter healthy,
Yeah.
quarter of this body is struggling, wondering why I didn't, have have it situated. So I can understand that. Um, how are you feeling now since your treatment for yourself? I know we have your patients
Yeah.
too, they or clients that you've had.
Yeah, I feel fantastic. I honestly have, like I mentioned earlier, I have more energy than I've had in years. All of my symptoms are under control. If, the thing with autoimmune disease and with gut health is that you have to, it's not something that you can kind of fix and then forget and then move on and it's gone forever. You have to really pay attention to your body after that so that you make sure things stay the way that they are. And so I feel fantastic. All of my labs, all of my integrative and functional labs come back great now. So, I keep a really close eye on them. I check them once a year, really look and see if there's anything changing or adjusting that I need to work with. I'm really mindful of my nutrition. Does that mean that I don't ever go to a birthday party and have, a gluten-free treat? Of course I do. I mean, I'm human. I want to have fun. But I'm very mindful that it's gluten-free, that it's, of good sources, and it's very, very limited. It's not, I don't completely restrict myself.
Yeah.
And I also make sure that my lifestyle is staying consistent because we can very easily get into, where we're busy and things are happening and we can fall back into kind of bad habits of not sleeping or whatever. So I always keep that in the front of my mind. Okay, you need to get at least 8 hours of sleep. You're feeling a little stressed right now, so what are you going to do? So I'm always mindful of my body and what's going on. And I can really tell now that if I am not necessarily going into a flare up, but if I'm going into a direction where my body's starting to kind of say, hey, I recognize it right away and
You
I
do,
can make
right?
it.
I can understand where you're saying with that. Like just for example, for me, I don't know how it is for you, but I know for me, if I drink very rarely, like maybe once a month if I'm lucky.
Yeah,
But I could have a drink of something and I could actually feel the flare up come on a few hours later.
yeah,
I don't know how, I mean, whatever the food is for you, the gluten, right? So it's
yeah,
like if I have something that's off, and I think it's empowering, you need
yeah.
to teach individuals, or a food that may flare me up. And
Right.
I think that people understanding that it is an awareness, and that's why I keep saying mindful way every day to people, because it's your health. How long do you want to live? Like I keep telling someone, I'm
Yeah,
like, how long do you want to live? Do you want to live just a year, or you want to live like to your 90?
right. Yeah.
Um,
And the
it's
quality too. Like, what do you
Yeah,
want
the
your
quality,
quality to look
right? Do you
like?
want to be just like
Yeah.
crunched over?
Yeah. Yeah, and you're so right. It really is the mindfulness. And I think what happens and what I kind of learned over the years is when you're in that kind of unhealthy state where like your body's inflamed and you have all this stuff going on and your gut's unhealthy, you don't even know. Like it's so hard to be mindful and know what exactly is causing all of that because it's kind of all just chaos. Once you get it under control and you are in a state where you're getting healthy and you feel better and your symptoms are going away, those things, like they're so obvious. It's like you eat something or you don't sleep enough or something like that creeps in and you're like, okay, I hear you, I notice it. I'm going to fix that. And it really is so empowering because it gives you the ability to say, okay, I know how this is affecting me. I know what I can do to correct it. And I'm going to do that so that I don't end up back where I was in the beginning. And so it really is such a powerful tool to have to know and be able to listen to your body that way.
I think you're so right. I wish more people would. I mean, that's kind of where the passion of this show came in, is just having the conversation with individuals like yourself, where you were like at your wits' end to say, "Hey, I need to do something." And
Yeah.
now you're helping other patients and other clients, and that's so important. Um, Is there a client or someone that you've helped recently that that you'd like to share, or something that you'd like to add in for the day?
Yeah, of course. I've had so many fantastic clients. I mean, all of them are wonderful. I love that I can meet all of these fantastic people and work with them. And then of course, podcasts too. I love meeting amazing people like you as well. But yeah, I had a client recently who has Crohn's, recently diagnosed with Crohn's. Her story was so similar to mine that she has seen doctors and had tests and all of these things for so many years and told, oh, it's just IBS. Oh, you just,
Right.
you're just stressed, this or that. And, the day that we met, I remember her saying, if one more person tells me I'm stressed, I'm going to lose it. Obviously, I'm stressed.
Yeah, I mean that is part of the equation, but that's not the only part of the equation.
Right.
And then I think what it is I know from a person that came from conventional medicine and now is so integrative, and I say integrative and not just functional because I
Yeah.
really incorporate a lot of different parts of my wellness. So and so
Yeah.
do you. It's not knowing, like, right, when you're not aware, they just say stress because that's one thing on the ticker neurotransmitter, but you're still not like really looking at the root cause of what is underlying that. What else is it? What else is happening?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I helped her find an integrative doctor in her area that she could go to because I
Cool.
feel like you need that person in your corner. Like when
You
you need a
totally do. You
yeah, when
totally
you
do.
need a doctor, you need somebody who understands and wants to go through the process with you. And so I helped her do that. And then together, her and I, we did gut testing. We really looked at her microbiome. We really looked at what was out of whack. Which bacteria are you super high in? Which ones are you low in? What's going on? She had a massive amount of inflammation. And so, we just kind of picked one thing. I'm like, okay, we know now that she's seen this integrative doctor. We now know that you have this Crohn's diagnosis. We know what's going on. So let's pick something and start. And I said, honestly, inflammation is where we need to start with you because your gut.
It's so hard because it's like, conventional wise, we hear Crohn's, right? You think inflammation, it's an allergic reaction, and immediately you're trying to suppress it. And I
Yeah,
think the scary part is it's like, why are we not looking at why it's happening? And
yeah,
I'm grateful for mentors that I'm learning from and providers that like yourself that are trying to put the question out there and say, hey, let's try to fix it.
yeah,
Why is it so hard to try to make
right.
solution?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we really focused on her food. Obviously, she was having issues with, everything she ate hurt or caused issues with her digestion because her digestion was just such a mess. And so, we really started with food. We started focusing on making sure she got really good, healthy, nutritious food that she was able to tolerate in amounts that she could tolerate. We started
Right.
focusing on her inflammation, like overall inflammation. Like, I'm not worried about your Crohn's diagnosis. I'm worried about the inflammation in your body. So we really started focusing on that. We focused on her gut test and like what it said and what we need to work on. And we just kind of went through, and I told her it was like peeling an onion. I'm like, you're not going to be healthy tomorrow, maybe not even a month or 6 months from now. It takes time, especially when you've been sick for that long. And
Right.
so we're peeling onions here. We have to, at one point, we're gonna fix your nutrition so that you're getting nutritious food into your body. Then we're gonna fix your inflammation, and then we're gonna get rid of these bad bacteria so that we can start adding in good bacteria. And so we really were like peeling onions one at a time to really get her to where she was healthy. And she is eating foods now that she hasn't been able to eat in years. She's enjoying food again. She's able to go out and have dinner with her friends when she wants to, which she was like, I haven't been out to eat in such a long time because all food terrifies me. So she's got her social life back.
Oh,
Um,
it's so scary, and I I can, as a provider and then also as a patient, like you go back and forth, you go, oh my gosh, it just wish it would just become a conversation of, but it's almost like people are afraid to talk about not even just nutrition, but like what's going on. Like, why are we not talking about this?
yeah,
This is why I love having individuals. Of course, I'm just as passionate about gut health as you are. I love it.
yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah, it really is. It's such a huge key piece to everything. And, something else I learned working with, not just her gut, my own gut and other
Mhm.
clients is there's such an emotional piece to autoimmunity and gut health. Like, because it's so, and I always try and explain it this way, it's so invisible to the rest of the world. If you have a broken arm, people see your cast and then they're like, oh my gosh, what happened to you? You broke your arm. Let us help you. But
Mhm.
when you have like gut health issues, autoimmunity, it's invisible to the world. So people don't know that you're struggling. They don't know that you're having all these things going on. And there's a very emotional aspect to that where it's like, maybe you do isolate yourself because it's too hard to go out to eat or to be with people and explain to them that this hurts or you don't feel great, and it can be very isolating and depressing.
Well,
And
there's a lot of mental health correlation,
yeah,
and that in itself is it's another conversation, right? I mean, I could have you on, we could talk about gut health and mental health just in that alone.
yeah,
And we can do that in another conversation. I just wanted people to meet you and know your story. But yeah, I
yeah,
just think that the gut and the mental health is we haven't even gone into that conversation,
right,
right? And
yeah,
there is, I'm not going to say all diseases mental health, but I mean, I feel that we take care of some of this gut health, and some of that physical and mental will definitely
yeah.
decrease.
Yeah, and I think honestly, if there was one thing that I could tell everyone and I could really know for sure they were going to understand and hear, it would be that like gut health is so important and it's key to so many different things like you mentioned, mental health, autoimmune disease, like our immune system, so many things that it is such a key player in. And if I could just get people to understand like
Yeah.
gut health, that's what I would like
And I
scream.
know that you know what it is what someone told me the other day, that the reason they wouldn't listen to me. Oh, now that I tell people when they come to see me that you're not just paying to see me, you're paying for time. It's not even about money it's about you're paying to see and come for my education. But if you're not going to put the effort and the time. So I also let people know this is going to take work. Like you said, it's not going to be a 4 weeks. It's not going to be a month, it may be 6 months, but know that this takes time. And I think that this is not the lazy way to do it. So, as I put a disclaimer to individuals, like you're going to have to put effort into this and it will take time because your body needs time to heal.
Right.
I don't know how it is for you, but I usually have to be like, no, this isn't one pill. So if you're coming here for a pill or you're coming here for a 1 week conversation, I may not be the one for you to be talking to.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's definitely, we can guide you and we can give
Right.
you information
We're not
and
necessarily
help you,
right. Exactly. You're not
but I
diagnosing.
can't,
You're here guiding.
yeah,
Exactly.
and I can't like pick up your fork and put food in your mouth. I can't make sure that you go to sleep. I can't make sure that you take your supplements or whatever your plan is.
Whatever your plan is, right.
Yeah,
If
I
you're not
can't do it.
following the guidance and
Right.
you want to be them, you want to empower them,
Yeah.
and you want those clients to hear,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wish I could be in their homes and make sure they do it, but there's no way possible. So I'm like, at some point you have to really want it and you have to work hard for it. And it is hard and it does take time. And I know for some people, they're just so tired of being sick and they're so tired of being tired and, they just want something to make them feel better. And I know like 100% I know this will work for you, but you have to believe in it and you have to do it.
that's a great point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've already been having such a great time talking to you. I have one, being that you're in your doctoral candidate program.
Yeah.
What have you found as one of the most biggest microbiome um, helpers to helping with the gut health? What's
Oh
your big
gosh.
one?
You know what?
Because I
There's
think I found it as being bifidus infantis and lactobacillus, not acidophilus, but like it's oh my gosh, I think it's brevis.
Yeah, yeah,
But I don't know, what have you found a few, or are you still in the infant stage of starting with that work?
there's a few that are really, really great. The ones that you mentioned are fantastic. What's interesting, something that I've learned along this path that I find really interesting is a lot of people who have gut health issues also have fatty acid deficiencies. And so, even outside of like the good bacterias that we can initiate in the guts, the fatty acids are such a huge important thing as far as like
They're low or too high? Too low,
they're
correct?
too low.
Too low,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen lots of clients with almost no fatty acids. Like it's like zero, like they don't exist. And that's our building blocks. That's what's going to repair your leaky gut. That's what's going to heal, all of that gut lining. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing outside of even the bacterial microbiome itself
Hmm.
is fatty acids, because I was really shocked to see working with all the clients that it was kind of a consistent trend that I was seeing with that.
Hmm.
And then, I really started studying like butyrates and different
Hmm.
fatty acids and incorporating those. And so what I've kind of learned even through my doctoral program is they really are so important and key to healing the gut so that when we put the good bacteria in, they can survive and
Yeah,
that they prosper. And so I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I've learned and started incorporating in the last several months.
that's very, very interesting. Have you, what's your favorite fatty food? Like good quality?
Oh gosh, I mean, this probably should have been my interesting fact. I could probably eat like a pile of avocados
Oh, yeah. Oh, same here.
like in one sitting
It's
and
up there.
like
I just
don't
had
even
one
judge
this
me.
morning. I have it probably like twice a day. No,
Yeah.
at least probably one a day. They're in a smoothie or in some food of sorts.
Yeah. I
I had finally
love
got
them.
my little son to eat them too now, so we're good.
Yeah, I love avocados and honestly, really good quality olive oil as well. I'm kind of
Right.
like you know how there's like wine aficionados who like just know wine really well. I feel
Yes.
like I'm that weird olive oil person.
It took me a really long time to so just same thing with the labeling and
Yeah,
the olive oil is not made good by everybody.
yeah, yeah,
There's a
absolutely.
lot of fake
And it
ones.
tastes completely different when it's actually really good quality. So, yeah.
Who's your favorite brand? You don't have to, I know you don't, affiliate with any, but like,
Oh gosh, there's so many really great ones out there, honestly. And the one that I'm really loving right now, and I never say their name right, they're out of Greece and it starts with a K. I want to say it's like Castira.
oh, cool.
I can never say it right, but
Yeah.
it's in this gorgeous blue bottle and they cold press it right like from their trees. It's so delicious and just really super high quality. And I think they've recently started selling it in like Whole Foods and stores like that. Also,
Oh,
you used
nice,
to only be
nice.
able to order it directly, but they've started adding it to a few specialty stores too. But that's probably my favorite right now.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. How, so in general, like through the years now, how long has it been since you've been kind of transitioning in remission since your illness? Or
Yeah,
like
I
since you've
would
been
say
kind of identified your own?
I have probably been in remission for about 5 years now. Um,
Awesome.
it took me it took me a good 10 years to get from like the beginning of my journey to get to the point where I could even start going into remission. So about
I can understand that. I can totally.
yeah, yeah, and I have like I said, I've had more energy. I feel fantastic, and I wouldn't trade honestly, I wouldn't trade that journey for anything, honestly, just because I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about the human body. I learned so much about gut health and so many things. And it really was the reason that projected me to the path that I'm on now. And so like I wouldn't trade it for anything, even though it was like horrible. But yeah, it's been really great. I haven't had any major flares in probably 5 years. You know, like I said, the great thing is I notice now and I can tell when something's off and I can start kind of readdressing that and taking care of it. So I've been really lucky not to have flare-ups or things like that either. So yeah, it's been really great.
I love it. I'm so glad that you're, kind of figured it out and, and that you're helping so many other individuals. Before we leave, I'd love for those to obviously be able to reach you. I'll have your information in the show notes. I know that your website is what functionally autoimmune, correct?
Yes. Yep. So you can find me at functionallyautoimmune.com and there's links to my podcast. There's links to all of my different
Oh,
information.
and you have a podcast. What's your
I
podcast?
do. It's actually called the same thing. It's called Functionally Autoimmune.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really great. I get to meet a lot of wonderful people like you and have conversations like this on there. So I love it. But yeah, you can reach me on there. You can set up consultations. I also have the Gut Health Academy, which is my newest adventure that is kind of my passion project that I love so much.
Cool.
And so you can get to guthealthacademy.teachable.com and I have a free course on there about gut health and things that you can start doing today that are great for your gut. And I have a master class that will be launching this month actually on there as well to kind of really go through the big steps of like gut health and things that you can do and what you should look for and just a big training on all of those things. And so yeah, so you can reach me at either of those as a great place to
Wonderful.
yeah.
I'll put it in the show notes. And when this airs, I'll, make sure that people check back with you.
Yeah,
And I look forward to you being on again so we can have another conversation, maybe in the mental health space.
absolutely.
And share, maybe you'll be in our mindfully integrative book at some point too. I'd love for you to come and
Yeah,
that comes out soon, come out eventually. So I would love, to be a part of that too.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much for being on and taking your time. Is there anything else you'd like to share, as I say, a mindful way before you leave?
Yeah, I just, honestly, the only thing that I can say is parting words is definitely make sure that you find a fantastic integrative doctor to have in your corner. Like yourself. Make sure that you have someone that's there that understands and that can help you get to the root cause of what's going on instead of just handing you a pill and hiding symptoms, because that's not going to get you healthier where you want to be. And gut health is really so important. So um, you know, don't push it to the side and think that it's not a big deal, because it really is. And also never give up, because again, 40 doctors in 10 years and I made it to where I am. So don't ever give up.
Oh my God. Thank you. I really think someone needs to hear that because 40 doctors is a lot of money that you've placed and a lot of time and energy that
Yeah,
to get better. And people want answers. They don't want it to just be, oh, it's nothing. And
right.
I know that feeling. And I think that people need to be listened to, it's the
Yeah,
time and listen. So thank you
yeah,
so much for being
absolutely.
on the show and really appreciate your time.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And thank you guys for listening to the show today. And make sure each and every day you find a mindful way. Have a blessed day or night, whatever it is for you guys. And talk to you soon.